Hello, hello. What's up?
Hey girl, you looking cute over there.
Well, you know, I try to keep up with you, Miss Beautiful.
Well, I'm glad we
Tries,
all
tries.
I'm glad we all smiling now because we're getting ready to get into it, okay?
Okay, okay, I'm ready.
Now, this first topic is very near and dear to my heart because y'all, the whole 11 years Faith and I have been friends. I've been the single friend. That's right. Y'all go ahead, call up Jesus right now because I ain't with it no more, okay? But in the meantime,
In the
y'all,
meantime,
it's been some shenanigans, especially in the church. So, our topic for today, ladies, is the single friend. Is she a
mm,
threat?
say it again, girl. Ask me again. Okay, say it one more time.
The single friend. Is she a threat?
That's the $1 million question. That's the $1 million question. But I'm ready to get into it. So I'm gonna let you take the floor, and then we'll see how this conversation's gonna go.
Because this is birthed out of, I've been saved ever since I was a kid. And they tell you in the church, if you want a husband, wear your dresses, wear your makeup, your earrings, because you never know, right? You never know when he's going to come around. So you always want to be on. So I say a good 8 times out of 10, I look nice. I look, because you do. You never know when he's going to come.
That's
The
right.
problem is then you got Mr. Married so-and-so over here. He looking.
Mm,
He checking for the single lady with the tan line on his finger.
not the tan line.
The tan line. And all of a sudden, it becomes our fault. I'll say my fault, the single ladies. It's something that we've done wrong. And I
Hmm.
don't appreciate it.
Well, I understand your plight, your aggravation, and your frustration. So let me kind of give my side of the story so that we can kind of get into it to see, hopefully, we can have a meeting of the minds.
Hopefully.
Because, I don't think necessarily single ladies are a threat, but what I think is that there's a narrative that has birthed, particularly in the church.
Mhm.
And the narrative is everybody wants your man. So let me give my perspective of it. So as you know, I got married at 25, so that's pretty young, and I grew up in the church. However, it was a family church, so anybody that was single, they were still family, right? And so nobody was really checking for that, and I didn't really know about the suspicions that happen when you start mixing opposite sex together in the faith community. I really didn't have any experience with that because why? Everybody at my church, we were related.
Mhm.
Okay. So then let's fast forward right on up. Right. And so then, when I decided I was going to really, really, okay, I'm really going to dedicate my life to living in a different way. Right. And so, I joined the church. Well, I wasn't there hardly 6 months before I met my husband,
Okay.
and we got married in the same year. So a lot of the things that my single friends have told me over the years, I was able to skip over because I was already in the married club, right? So nobody was really checking for me like that in that way. But then what starts to happen is you have the older, more seasoned, more wise women that start saying, well, girl, let me tell you something. You don't need to keep a whole bunch of single women around you and your husband. You got to be mindful. And so then people start planting seeds as to how you have to walk in, now let's do the quotation marks, wisdom, right? You have to walk in wisdom when it concerns the fair sex and how much time they spend around you and your man. So I just want to put a little disclaimer out there. I, Faith Thomas, have never personally had any issues with single women, but I can definitely say that the whispers have come to my ears. Folks have trying to drop what they call seeds of wisdom. It has come to me that you need to watch out for that single lady.
So I want to talk about that because you've used that word 3 times now, wisdom. And I'm going to say from my side, I understand, yes, you got to be wise and, pay attention to who's around your husband. But part of that, I think, is fear. It's fear-based because these wives, they know their husbands. They know what he like. They know if he's already been slipping and dipping somewhere else. So when they see you, aka me, come along as a single woman, put together, got a little shape, wear my little dresses, heels and stuff, they're like, oh no, because she looked like she might be his type. And really, the onus is on him to act like he got some sense, But for me, it's just like, first of all, I don't appreciate being approached or treated as if I got the spirit of Jezebel. Just because I'm single and I want a husband don't mean I want your husband.
Girl, well, first of all, it's so much power play that's happening in the church anyway. Mm-hmm. So you have, who gets to speak, who gets to be over this committee, who gets to participate in this function. So because there's already a hierarchy thing that we deal with, right, in the faith community, now we have another layer of it where I may not have any weight anywhere else, but what I do have over you is I'm married, right? And so as a married person, I always have to let it be known, this is my territory, I'm marking my spot, and I'm better than you. And so sometimes we married ladies, we bring that energy with us. And like you said, they said what, 50% of marriages, or is it more than that now, have experienced infidelity? Mm-hmm. So you're talking about people are bringing their real baggage into very intimate situations because what? We call each other brothers and sisters in Christ, right? We say we're supposed to fellowship together. We're supposed to break bread together. We're supposed to go and evangelize together. We're really supposed to do life together. But it becomes very difficult when I am bringing my baggage that no one knows about. No one knows that my husband has stepped out on me several times. No one knows that it happened to be a girl that had curly hair like you know what I'm saying, and wore her makeup just so. And so instead of us just dealing with us, because that's really what it is, dealing with our own insecurities, a lot of times what happens is we push it off on somebody else.
Right. And
I'll say one more thing too. In my mingling with married people and this wisdom coming my way, what I realize is people usually only suspect folks of things that they would do themselves. So sometimes we self-project.
Say that again.
I'm just saying, I think a lot of us married women, we're self-projecting, right? So because I know that if I saw this handsome man and he seems to be, loving family man, dedicated, here in the church, worshiping God, doing his thing, that would be attractive to me. And I may not respect the boundaries of his marriage. And I would step out and do something out of the way. Because I really, really believe in my heart, you will not suspect other people of doing things that unless it crossed your mind yourself. And so go ahead.
I think that is such a good, important point to make, because I can tell you there's just times I was just like, did I linger too long? Did I smile too hard? And I just got to the realization, it ain't me. It ain't me. It ain't nothing I did. There's never been anything in me that wants to have a extramarital affair or even any kind of affair. I don't want a piece of nobody. Okay. I want my whole husband. I much rather wait and deal with my solitude and all the woes that come with being single, So especially when I come to church for what the church is supposed to be. And yes, I want to look nice. Yes, I want to wear my heels. But if I have checked my heart, and my skirt is not 3 inches, I'm doing it right, quote unquote. But then I get that it's like a double-edged sword, because like you said, it's like sometimes the married women have this members only jacket that I clearly cannot order and I cannot fit yet, So we get that, And so, okay, I'm sisterly. I'm trying to befriend everyone. I, like to connect with people, but it's just certain ones. And it don't matter the age, Faith. It don't matter. She could be 25 and married. She could be 75 and married.
Okay, so what would you say to a 75-year-old that really think you checking for her man? Like, what do you think?
It's happened. I wanted to laugh so hard. Like, seriously? Like, what happened was she went to the bathroom and she came back and her husband, I don't know, he told some kind of joke. So when she walked in, we were both laughing. And she was like, what y'all laughing at? I was like, but Miss So-and-so, like, what? Okay. Yeah.
Child with his old self.
And she assumed that quick in her absence.
He been cheating for the last 50 years. That's what you didn't know. You didn't know that. She got to check somebody every 5 to 6 years. She got to check somebody.
Listen, I never did get invited back to dinner after that. So, yeah.
There
you go.
Wow. But, you know, I will say this because I want, hopefully we can have a well-rounded discussion about it. I do believe that there is a wisdom that anybody, just any person of integrity should have, right? And that's on both ends. Meaning, if you don't know a couple well, right? You know, you may want to wait for an opportunity to be able to build some bonds and some relationships with people one-on-one, so they really can know, okay, why out of all of the people in the room is this particular young lady coming up to me and my spouse, right? Because the truth be told, there are some folks that they don't care nothing about your ring. They don't care anything about that. And not even that your husband would step out and do anything. It's just the disrespect level. And sometimes because we don't want to deal with confrontation, right? And I'm just going on a whole nother tangent. Because there's a confrontational thing, instead of just, you know, saying, excuse me, I think you're going a little too far, because the Bible tells us, well, if you got out with somebody, you're really supposed to go to them. But what we'll do sometimes as married people, we'll just kind of judge and stand back and turn our nose up, and still, instead of telling that person, what you did make me feel uncomfortable. We don't really know you well like that. And it just seems like you had a lot of conversation for one person. And let me tell you now, Michael, he really had to help me out when we first got married, because, you know, I love to talk. I'm a people person. And so we would be around other couples sometimes, and they would be older couples. And he would say, Faith, when you direct a lot of conversation towards the husband, because maybe the wife, for whatever reason, she ain't got no conversation, right? But the man, he does. He said it comes off like you're flirting. Yeah. Because that's what people are used to. They're not used to people being genuinely friendly and genuinely inquisitive. Because you know me, girl, I'm Faith Talk, right? I am inquisitive. I'm going to ask questions. I'm trying to interview you. I'm trying to get all up in your business. Right. And so whoever's giving me the conversation is where I would typically, but like I said, my husband, who's kind of, you know, been in the streets on another way that I never experienced, coming from a little country town, he was kind of able to school me like, no, everybody's not from the country. Everybody's not family, and everybody knows each other. And when you do a lot of excessive talking to one spouse, the other person is going to feel some type of way. So I just want to kind of round out the conversation that, you know, married couples should have wisdom, meaning, because what does it say? Don't let your good be evil spoken of, right? Don't be putting fire to your bosom. We got to do all of that. But if we really stop having a suspicious mind, and if somebody offends us, just really say, hey, I think that was a little too much, and we can still all be good. I really think that married people or the women, so let me ask you that. Do you feel that men are as threatened by single men, married men? Are they threatened by single men, or is more so the married woman that's threatened by the single woman?
And, you know, we have mentioned this before because I never thought about it, and I do not think so. I think, one, from the male ego standpoint, but I also think, you know, it's just become so accepted that it's the male that's going to cheat, not so much the woman. So I think men take it for granted. Yeah, there may be a man in the church, he's in shape, you know, full beard, still got his hair, you know, whatever. But it's just so taken for granted that we, the women, are going to be faithful, you know, and that they can get away with whatever.
That's true. That's true. I can definitely say I don't remember being, again, in those circles where you hear men telling other men, that young brother, because normally they assume that the young brother is just trying to get some wisdom, some insight. He's trying to see what the married life is like. And normally they're trying to convince them like, yeah, dude, you know, marriage has its challenges, but, you know, you might want to go ahead and find that good thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's always assumed there's a mentorship that's happening. Versus as with women, I guess I would ask the question, do you feel like women, we're naturally competitive?
I think, unfortunately, we've been set up that way. And I can't say what the prevalence is. I think you kind of attract what you are. So I know I always gravitate towards women that want to be friends, that are not catty, that are not, backstabbing, that are not engaging in extramarital affairs themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to get what you're looking for, but we've definitely been set up that way to be competitive with each other, unfortunately.
You're right. And I would definitely say, for the married women, keep your stuff tight too. If you feel like the young ladies, they are taking that extra care with their hair, because again, they're looking for, their good thing, right? They're staying open and available, so they present themselves as one. So, sometimes our threaten is because we know our hair was a little, ratchet, and we haven't really taken care to present ourselves and be desirable. So again, it all comes back to how do you feel about yourself, and how you feel about yourself to me will lead to what type of suspicions you're going to have about other people. And I don't suspect you. I remember, I think possibly we may have been friends maybe 3-4 years into it. And I think when you were out of town, you were coming in town, and I was like, yeah, girl, just, crash with me. No need to get a hotel, that we can spend more time together. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I happened to mention it to a family member, and they were like, and who this woman? How long she staying with you in Mike? And I just had to tell them straight up. First of all, let's get this real clear. I'm not going to be around a person that I think would not respect my marriage. I'm not going to invite a woman in my home that I don't believe have that type of character, because I can say, in my younger life, I would hang with girls that, they're suspect. And you better not turn your back, because they would not only take your clothes, your shoes, and your pocket, but they're coming for your man, right? The same way she didn't ask you, could she borrow them shoes? She didn't ask you to borrow your man either.
And let me just say, if I'm flying in from out of state to come visit a friend, y'all better leave me a corner of the sofa or somewhere. If I got to get a plane ticket and a hotel room, our friendship ain't gonna last that long. Because listen, I'm an income of one, okay? It's a little rough at times. And yes, it's easier for me to be the one to hop on a plane because you ain't got to bring your whole family. I get that. So it's always easy for the single friend to travel. Then look out for the single friend. And like you said, if it's that bad that I can't come around your husband, then clearly the issue is there, and I can stay in whatever state I'm in.
Well, let me tell you about my little college situation. Well, first of all, great point to be taken. Okay. If the person is traveling, the person receiving them can at least accommodate them, right?
Because the holidays are coming, people.
Whew. And friendship should be mutually beneficial. Now, why are you benefiting from me taking off work, hopping on a plane, packing up, all of my things, and now I get here and I still got to find somewhere to stay? That's a bit much. So that's a great point taken. But I'll tell you, so when I was in college, one of my sorors, right, we were traveling and hanging out for the weekend, and we were going to go see my sister who lived an hour away. And in the meantime, I think she was at work or something, and her husband happened to get to the house before we did. Now, mind you, he was known to, he traveled for his job, and every now and again he would stop in on me and this soror that I hung with all the time, and he would just leave me money. He would just say, hey, little sis, what's going on? I'm in town. I'm just dropping through. Let me drop you a little money. And I was so appreciative. Thank you, brother-in-law. I sure appreciate it a lot, right? Because I'm in college. And so it just so happened we were going to visit. Make a long story short, my sister wasn't there, and I think it took her maybe about 3-4 hours to get there. And the soror that I was with, we had like a whole discussion, like, your sister allows you to come in her house with another woman that she don't even really know like that, and we can wait here until she gets home. And I'm like, yes, like, who are you hanging around? Like, first of all, we thinking like, now my sister is only about 7 years older than me, but back then that was like, and that's gross. You know what I'm saying? Not only is he my brother-in-law, he's older than us. We ain't really checking for the older man. And she knows that that's not the caliber of female that I would be around, but she was literally shocked. And so I understood from her background and some things that personally happened with her, where her best friend stepped in with her boyfriend, and she didn't find out about that relationship for years. And so that, along with the wisdom that the females in her family passed along, she is just very like, no, if I'm not at home, you cannot be there with my man. You need to wait in the car, go up the street to the mall. Like, that's her thing. I'm not with that life, but I just wanted to put that story out there. It's a very real thing.
Yeah. Okay. And I just want to turn the page a little bit, because I'll be remiss if I don't bring this up. Single ladies, my single sisters out there, I know it's great to get a male's perspective and to have your brother in Christ, but please don't be so vulnerable, so naive, that when you're having these conversations with these married men, these big brothers in the body, and that hug turns into something else, okay? I'm gonna need you to guard your heart, because there are wolves in sheep's clothing, okay? So we have to take responsibility for when we fall, when the red flag comes in. Don't wave it, run, okay? Because there will be times, and I know I have been in situations where I felt like Minister so-and-so, he was just looking out for me. He wanted to make sure he was vetting this guy for me, and yada, yada, yada. Come to find out, it was the minister that was trying to get, the married minister that was trying to get with me.
Not the married minister. Slow that down a bit. Not the married minister.
And I wish it was just one that I was talking about, that I'm recalling right now, but they the worst. So ladies, just really, really be careful. I understand when you see a ready-made family and you want to glean from them and you want to understand like what's that like, and you want to make sure you gravitating towards that and bringing that energy. Just be careful, because just because they've been married for 25 years don't mean it's a marriage of purity and holiness, okay? And the fact that you are opening this door for conversation, and you cute and you're young, don't be naive. Don't be naive.
But what if they cute and they old?
I guess these days anything goes. Yes. Don't email me. I'll talk about you too. If you cute and you older, I ain't gonna call you old. You older. Yeah. You too. Be careful.
Yeah. So why would you I know kind of a little bit of your story behind that, but I think it would help people to kind of hear, like, how does that actually go down? Like, I heard you say,
what happened?
Go ahead and tell what happened.
I moved one story. I first moved to North Carolina. So first time out of my parents' house. I'm on my own. I'm excited, but I don't know nobody. So what I do, I run to the church, right? Because that's what I've been taught. So I start affiliating with this particular church. The minister is there. He knows that I'm in grad school, so I'm an older student. So I guess he felt agency then to have conversations with me, to have my phone number. He got my phone number because I filled out that little connect card, you know. Mm-hmm. He using it for his own purposes. And so what happened was him and his homies were going on a day trip somewhere, and he invited me. He called to invite me. So at first instance, I was like, oh, wow, that was very thoughtful. And I only been there. I only been in North Carolina for like a month at this time. So no friends. I don't know nobody yet. So I was like, that was really cool. And then I was like, wait a minute. Is your wife going to be there? And he says, oh, no, she's out of town. So hold on. You're inviting me on a day trip with your brothers, your friend, your male friends, and I'm going to be the only. That's the disrespect right there.
So now this is where we have to do that accountability, right? Because then we do have to check ourselves. What if you are flattered? What if you are curious? And I think if we don't really own up to our feelings and say, you know what, I'm curious as to what type of day trip he thought would be beneficial. I'm flattered that he think I'm cool enough to hang with him and his friends. Like, sometimes we just have to be real, because if we just play into the scenario as I just been blinded, Was it really that you were blinded, or you just chose not to when you felt that little scratch or that little, let me check this out, but you chose to override it because there was some ego and some other emotions that was, taking precedent?
That's exactly what I was talking about before. Like, if I had have gone on that trip and whatever would have went down, he gave me all the information I needed on the phone for me to say no, which is what I did. But had I still gone, because he know the area, they can take me around. I ain't gonna have to pay for nothing to eat. He Christian, they gonna look out for me. It's gonna be some nice, like, if I would have stupidly gone on this trip that his wife wasn't there, she probably wouldn't have known that I was coming, because I wasn't on the guest list. I wasn't on the original guest list. So why would he call her back and say, oh yeah, I just invited this young tenderoni to go with us? So in that situation, I would have to own up to whatever would have went down, whatever kind of backlash would have happened. But what I chose to do was, and I had a moment, I was just like, well, girl, you should have caught this beforehand. I don't really know what I would have picked up on, but I was just like, but I'm just so glad, because like you said, for a split second, I was flattered. I did feel seen. I did feel a little special, but I was like, wait a minute, he got a wife. And if she ain't going, I ain't going.
So your morals kicked in, right? That's basically what, at the end of the day, you didn't say, well, it's on him not to cross the line.
Right.
You took some accountability in that too. And that's what I was saying earlier about, I think if everybody just comes to the table with a heart of integrity, like, first of all, I'm not going to do anything that I wouldn't want someone to do to me.
That's right.
If my husband, for whatever reason, lost his mind and invited someone to go somewhere, I would be thinking, okay, if Rose was on me, would I take that invitation? Would I feel comfortable if it was my husband and he did that and the female said yes to go? So now I want to ask you this, because a lot of people say this, well, we all grown. I've heard this because, okay, in the church, right, we have this like group dating and group get-togethers and all of these different things that we kind of erect for fellowship, right? Mm-hmm. But then you have people that say, I'm grown, I don't need 4 or 5 people to go with me. If Minister so-and-so says, let's go catch coffee, he grown, I'm grown, why his wife got to be there? Or even some people say, well, I was friends with him before his wife even showed up. So we grown people, why we need a chaperone? What you got to say about that?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I had a friend like that. I had been friends with him way before he got married. And I left, I moved around. I left the area, left the state, and came home. I didn't know he was married because time had passed and we hadn't talked. And so once I found out, now I'm keeping my distance, but he still wanted us to go to lunch, and he just kept asking me, let's go to lunch. I'm like, dude, you got a whole wife now. Did your wife say it was okay? Have you asked your wife? And he got the attitude with me because I kept asking him, did your wife say you can go? Is it okay? And I'm just like, because when you do this stuff, like you said, I'm grown and y'all just going for call. What are y'all talking about? What are y'all doing? And then all it takes is one text after 9 o'clock. All it takes is, can I ask you a question?
Well, a lot of times they want to trash their wife. And she getting on my nerves, and she put me ahead of the kids. And so now you become a sounding board for all what's wrong with his marriage.
And see, I know the other side where I may have the boyfriend, no good boyfriend that I should want to leave. So then I come to Mr. Husband over here, and he's like, no, I peeped that game. I used to do that when I was younger, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, both ways. Somebody wants to vent to someone. That's the stuff that affairs are made of.
Say that again.
That's the stuff affairs are made of. And it always starts, like I said, with that one hug, that one little hee-hee, that one little inside joke y'all got. All it takes is that one time where the wife had to work late, or she went to visit her family, and now you home by, hey, what you doing? Oh, nothing. I just, I done cooked a whole meal. You want to come over and get some? Like it just, and you can always trace it back to, put it this way. I do not subscribe to the notion most of the time that people are duped. There's always warning signs. We ignore them, or people ignore them. And then you want to be crying wolf when you've been done wrong, when you done got yourself pregnant by a married man, or you done got an STD from this married man.
That was a lot that you just dropped. And so I would say this, since the question is the single lady, is she a threat? I would definitely say that no. Singlehood does not make a person a threat. A lack of integrity, right? A lack of prudence.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous person, because they are leaving it up to, well, that wasn't my intent. That's what I wasn't meaning to do. From the self-projecting, well, I know I would do that, so now I got to treat everybody else and hold them at arm's length. And so it's really, at the end of the day, it's poor character.
Yeah.
And even when you have great character, at the end of the day, I really believe you should not want your good to be evil spoken of.
Right.
And you should always put yourself in someone else's shoes. I mean, that can come down to anything. Let's just say, like you said, you know, you and some girls friends are hanging out for a weekend and they happen to run out for breakfast, and you see one of your girls got a cute pair of shoes on and you're like, oh, she ain't gonna mind, I'm just gonna grab her shoes. No, like, pick up the phone and say, hey, I left my cute heels at home, I forgot, can I grab your shoes? It's just common. Would I want someone to do me that way? Would I want someone to consider me? So even if my heart is, I don't want that old man, I don't, but I understand that he has a wife, and I want to consider how it would look if she was to find out about it on the back end of things. So.
And I think that brings up a good point too. I want to say to my single sisters out there, if you are the type of woman where you're just like, I hear what y'all saying, but I'm still gonna do me. I got to get some. He offering it. He keeps my hair done. He put whatever it is. If you've already given yourself license to engage with someone that's not your husband, sis, take this single time and get your healing. Because number one, we know what we sow, we reap. It will come back, you know, and you think that you're getting over, you think you're getting back to Joe who did you wrong 5 years ago. So now you're going to cheat on everybody. You're going to go after every wife's husband, you know, but at the end of the day, you are eating away at your own soul. You ain't nobody but yourself. It ain't cute, sis. It ain't cute. So if you would rather have a piece of a man than a whole man, check your heart. Ask yourself, why are you okay with settling? Because you are a whole queen. So I don't want a piece of nobody else's king, okay? That's a whole other conversation. But I really want you to let go of the bitterness, to get healed from the hurt in this single time. Take this time as a gift. I want my number to be up, Jesus, because I'm ready throwing my single card. But for anyone who's struggling in this area, take this time, because you wouldn't want to teach your daughter to hook up with someone else's husband. I hope you won't want to teach her that that's okay. If you had a mom who did that, who modeled that for you, well, think back to the heartbreak that your mom went through. It wasn't peaches and cream if your mom really did live that life.
Nope. And I'll say this since you gave some wisdom to the single ladies, I'll say this to the married ladies. Married ladies, you and your husband should have rules of engagement. Okay? So therefore, the onus does not become the third party that's outside of the marriage, right? The onus is between the two of you all and God. And so what each couple has to do is come fully to the table, right? And say, what makes me comfortable? What makes me uncomfortable? What gives me confidence in being able to trust you? And what are things that eat away at my trust? And what we can do as married ladies is, when we see our husbands breaking the rules of engagement, then we can handle that at home. And we can say, did we not say that we don't exchange numbers with the opposite sex, right? And if so, that spouse needs to know about it ASAP. What was the purpose of it? Was it business? Was it ministry? Kind of what's going on. We've established a boundary that at a certain time of night, you don't need to be answering phone calls. If she's going through in that way, then she definitely can get my number and she can call to me, and I can, be there for her as another sister. But what we're not going to do is set up situations where people's hearts and souls become entangled, because we are human. And that's a very natural part of humanness, to connect. So we cannot get upset with people if they connect in a way that possibly neither party intended to. But because we chose not to have rules of engagement, right? Because we chose not to have guardrails as to what is appropriate, interaction. But that still goes back to, and that means you can't put somebody in jail where they can't look at a woman, they can't talk to a woman, they can't shake her hand, they can't give her a hug. But at the end of the day, you and your spouse have to say, what are the things that make us uncomfortable? Look back in our past. What are some things that kind of caught us up before? And we know that, and this is my real pet peeve, these wives that can't get in their husband's phones. You know what I'm saying? You got to get a level 3 clearance to pick up his phone. Right. So again, you already got a problem. So it wasn't a single lady. Exactly. It wasn't a threat. The fact that you all don't have open communication and open trust, because you need level 3 clearance, right? That's the real issue. So my little advice, let me wrap it up. My advice for the married ladies is get your rules of engagement, hold each other accountable to it, and do not put the onus on that third party to make sure that the boundaries of your marriage is honored.
That's so good. That's so good. And I wanted to address real quickly those of us who are like me, who are living with integrity and we're waiting for, our husbands to show out. Honey, keep on getting your hair done, wear your lipstick, wear your earrings, wear your dress, wear your jewelry. Do you. Don't you walk in that church with no paper bag on because you're afraid or someone try to shame you for being you. No, do you. That's how she caught her husband, and that's how you will find yours, okay? If he got a wandering eye, he will be wandering to see what's up under the paper bag. Well, this has been such a delight. So much fun.
So much fun.
I can't wait to see what we're going to talk about next month.
Girl, well, we keep the conversation packed, so.
Yes, ma'am. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We'll have face information in the description box. I can't wait to see you guys. And leave us some chat, some comments. What do y'all think? What are y'all takes on this? I know y'all got opinions. So let us know. What did you like? What did you not like? And what would you like to see us talk about? Because we'll talk about it right here in the ladies' room.